thank you for all your questions. So, first on Ukraine. We see the agreements and the discussions between Ukraine and United States, and then United States and Russia. What we clearly see is that there is not much pressure on Russia, and that's why we continue with this part, because we can't end up in a situation where there's peace agreement that actually rewards aggression, because then we will see more of it. We have, of course, put forward, points, what are red lines for us. I mean, the respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty of a nation, and return Ukrainian children. All these points we have. I think it is important that we keep on raising these issues when it comes to also putting pressure on Russia. And there, actually, the reparations loan comes into play, and the work is ongoing. We have the UCO coming up next week. Hopefully we'll get an agreement there. We are not there yet, but the work is ongoing. And this is important because it could be a game changer in many ways. I mean, first, it will send a signal to Russia that it can't outlast us. It will send also signal to Ukraine that we are helping them, and this is, I think, important in many ways. It's also a signal that you can't walk away with the damages that you are causing. When you asked about the U.S. and the defense part of it, we are doing this. We are working very intensively with our, defense ministers. We just had the meeting with the EU defense ministers, and I really want to have more of those meetings with them, because they really need to, change the mindset from the national to the European, like, other ministers have. Because like you rightly say, you have the defense budgets, but the coordination between the defense budgets, because it's a national competence and it will remain a national competence, how can we do this? So we have proposed capability coalitions to really be led by the member states, but we can help them to coordinate and come up with the joint procurements, come up with the joint projects, because again, some capabilities are too big for any of them or any countries alone to procure, and some are just, again, the interoperability and all of this. So we are intensively working on this, and really that's why we have the roadmap, and we're really pushing the member states. So on one hand, they're all saying that it's a member state competence. Member states should be in the driver's seat, but then the car should also get moving, which is important. Even if you are in the driver's seat, it's not just to be in the driver's seat, but actually drive, and that is what we are trying to push from our side. The question on partnerships on defence and with Turkey, the SAFE is now, the deadline was the end of November. So those countries who are there are there, and of course in the SAFE you also have the part where member states can choose their own partners, and there are limitations how much you can procure from elsewhere. So there are limitations. These limitations very well. Some of the member states have issues with Turkey's bigger participation, and that has been counted on. Now, on your other question on the U.S. attacks on the European way and the strategy, I think we definitely should, and that's also answer to your question. I think we need to be more self-confident, because all of these things, you read them and regarding Europe, this is not true. I mean, it seems to me it's made to be a provocation so that we would react, because it is again the attention. Maybe it's a paper what we see, and also not very much following on different strategies, but that's beside the point. I think, we should be self-confident. We know that these things are not true. I mean, there was also article in Financial Times showing that, the issues that they are pointing out in the national security strategy are no worse in Europe than they are in America. But again, I think we are here now already for a year, and we should be, calm in this regard and work with what we can. It is true. I mean, the reactions always bring the divisions with America, who has been our biggest ally and still is our biggest ally, and divisions between European countries, which is also not good considering the situation where we are. So that's why, when we know that things are not true, I mean, in politics, if you go to debate on things that, this is not true, then you actually take it in. I mean, we know that this is ridiculous. It's not true what they're saying about the European Union. Again, coming from a country that was, didn't have a free media, didn't have liberties, I know what I'm talking about. I know the difference because I've been witnessing the other part. So I can tell Europe is very free and very liberal. On the Sudan and Congo and Mozambique and all these conflicts that you bring, I think the fundamental problem we see is that the general rules that we have agreed internationally in multilateral organizations do not apply. I mean, the world is clearly changing. We have had international rules-based orders so far, but it is clear that this is under a heavy attack now. So I think European Union's role has to be to defend this current international rules-based order that gives the UN Charter, that also says what you can do or what you can't do as a state to another country, and also what is very, very important is the accountability. Because if others see that all these crimes, all these wars go unpunished, then we will see more of it, and that is the danger. Now, what concretely, and you said that we have to intervene. I mean, that we have the missions and operations. We had the discussion with the European defence ministers on broader, aspects of the missions and operations we have, because, it's very often so that, let's open a new mission, let's send, help there, but we never then close any of the other missions that we have. But all of these missions require resources, and even if member states are saying, yes, we should have a mission there to intervene, to help, to keep the peace on the ground, then they're very often not providing the necessary resources and people. So that's what I said also in my speech, is that we really need to look into our missions and operations so that, to set clear objectives, also to listen to our partners in those countries for their needs, actually, because it's not that what we can, come up with, but actually what also they need to have peace. And I think also for the European Union, considering all the conflicts that are there in Africa, one of our role is to really try to avoid the tensions and the spillover effect to other countries. That's why we are also working with them. Now, to your question, skepticism regarding United States plans and our Ukraine policy being hesitant. I mean, if all of member states would have given the support, the military support to Ukraine in the first months when this war started, that they are giving now, I think the outcome would have been different. That is what we know in hindsight, whereas we have already, 4 years into this war. But I don't agree to the argument that, for example, Germany hasn't been on board. I mean, Germany has been very strong and providing also the support that they are giving. And in terms of numbers, I mean, really considering the change that they have done. And when it comes to reparations loan, you have seen Chancellor Merz's very public comments also about, we should move on with this reparations loan. So I don't think they are the ones who are really objecting to this. Now, on Congo, Sudan, and everything that is happening there. I mean, in Sudan, we had just in the Foreign Affairs Council, we had the discussion on the put together the points, what we are supporting and how we approach. I mean, we are supporting, of course, the ceasefire negotiations. We have a very good special representative in the Horn of Africa that is trying to do this, humanitarian access and also protection of civilians. But also what is very, very important is the clear way towards civilian governance of Sudan, because, the warring parties, this will just continue. And the other point, what we also agreed is accountability. Again, if we don't have accountability, then, these things keep on happening. But it's increasingly difficult. When it comes to Congo, then, the steps that we have taken on the European level also regarding Rwanda. I mean, we have restrictive measures against individuals, entities fueling and taking advantage of the conflict. We have suspended consultations with Rwanda, but it's clear that this is still ongoing, so we need to do more. We are in contact with our African partners constantly. I mean, although this peace was agreed or declared, actually there is no peace. And this is actually something more fundamental that I want to say about all these conflicts. One thing is to get to this peace agreement and say that, the leaders agree that there's now a peace agreement and that's it. But, you need the whole of society approach, that people actually refrain from hate speech, that they build on how these atrocities would never happen again, because everybody suffers, the people suffer. And that's why you need the civil society that we support. You need everybody that's my time. Okay, sorry. On board. And there where European Union really comes in place, not only, the agreements, but actually the long-term sustainable peace. And sanctions on Israel, I mean, ceasefire was the first step, and everybody welcomed the ceasefire and the peace plan and the UN Security Council resolution, also on Palestine. But of course, now we need to also make it work in practice, and it is not working the way it should be. There were already a lot of questions in the Security Council resolution, but we also thought that we can work on the way. Now, the point that you're making is very important, is that, even if we are, supporting the Palestinian Authority, but then how do we get from the place where there's ceasefire to the place where actually Palestinians have the ownership of their own state? I mean, to the two-state solution, and they can operate with all these challenges that are there. And that's why I think the support from us is extremely important. Now, what the European Council, the Foreign Affairs Council, where you have the foreign ministers, the measures that we proposed are on the table. So some of the countries want to go further with the measures because, like you say, the things that are happening on West Bank are still ongoing, and we have deplored these steps. But on the other hand, you have those who say that now there's ceasefire in place and we should take everything off the table. So that's why the compromise right now is that we see where this is going. We try to influence We are part of the Civilian and Military Cooperation Center to steer this into the right direction. But the risk of putting the measures in place is still there. And you know this. It's not a personal decision, but you need 27 member states to agree, and 27 member states are having very different views. So we concentrate on those things where we agree, like the humanitarian aid getting in, and where we can help that there would be peace and long-standing and sustainable peace on the ground. Sorry for being long.